go, Skinscast. Hey everyone, John here from Skinscast, and I wanted to do a little mini episode. You know, the off season. We're in the depths of the off season. We're waiting on free agency and then the draft, and you know, I'm a little sad inside. But I want to cover a few things. People have asked me questions through Twitter and on Facebook and stuff like that, and so just a couple questions. Go over real quick, talk about it for a few minutes, and see how it goes. The first one I covered in our last episode, Skinscast episode, but I'll touch on it again more from a personal level. And the question is, what do I think about the Jay Gruden hire? I like it. Well, let me answer two ways. The first way is I don't know enough about the guy really to say it's a great hire or not so much of a great hire. I mean, he's got a very diverse background in football. He came out of Arena, where he did a lot of big things in Arena football. Including being a head coach, including being a starting star quarterback. I think, I forget how many championships he was associated with, 4 or 5, but, you know, X amount as a player, X amount as a head coach. So I like it on paper. And what I mean by that is, here's a guy who's got good leadership experience. Here's a guy who's a coordinator, an active coordinator. You know, unlike Jim Zorn, this guy has actually been calling plays. He knows how to do that in game. He's had a successful offense in the league. So I think in that regard, he's a younger guy, you know, mid-40s. You know, reminds you very much of the Joe Gibbs hire back in the day. Not that I'm suggesting he's going to be the next Joe Gibbs. I'm just saying in the vein of here's a young, dynamic coordinator who's been successful in that role. But the other piece is the Arena League experience that I just mentioned, and I don't want to sell that short because really when you talk about experience in this case, head coaching, he has experience. It's just a matter of scale, right? So he's had to run a team. He's had to supply the direction and the vision of the team and be the final say and be the boss. He's just done it with a team that's smaller in size and scope in terms of money and you know, the crowds weren't that big, but in terms of the day-to-day job, it's very similar, I would imagine, to the NFL. So I think it bodes real well for him. I think when you look at all those factors on paper again, the fact that he has head coaching experience, the fact that he's been a successful coordinator in the league, the fact that he's John Gruden's brother, and I'm sure a lot of that knowledge and experience has rubbed off on him as well, being his brother. So I think all those things on paper, I think it's a very good hire. I'm not mad about it at all. In terms of him, the individual candidate, I haven't seen enough of him to say, yes, you know, this is a total thumbs up. I will say I like the way he handled himself. The day he was announced, the way he handled himself with the press. I like his sort of straightforward demeanor. I think a big subplot this year, and I wrote about this in Warpath magazine, is his relationship with RG3, with Griffin. I mean, this guy is, I think, much more upfront than Shanahan. Shanahan, you know, spoken code. This guy doesn't. We saw the clip from Hard Knocks. He has no problem calling out his quarterback in front of the whole team. So, you know, I don't think there's going to be any issues with not showing the bad play. So I'd have to say thumbs up. We'll see what happens. You know, some people believe he's cursed just because of the team that he works for and the ownership and the way it's run. I think things have changed in the sense that Bruce Allen is running the team. It's not Dan Snyder in the day-to-day. It's Bruce Allen. It's his deal. He hired this guy. So in as much as you can get a new day and a turn a page with the owner not changing and the GM that's been there for a few years now not changing, I think they have. All right, so question number 2. I've heard this a lot. Should they rely most heavily on the draft or free agency? And, you know, of course, historically, the Redskins have been that team that would go out and blow millions and millions of dollars on free agents and try to assert that this is the way that they're going to win championships. And, of course, they have not. They have been, in some ways, the poster boys for trying to leverage free agency, for overspending, for getting veterans in, and they just haven't had the level of success that they would have liked. But that being said, they have to this year. They have to go out and do both. They need to get players from every imaginable walk of life. However they can get players, they need to do it. And the good news is they have plenty of money to do it. million, so something along the lines of 30 million somewhere about in cap room, and then they have the ability to restructure contracts and get even more. I think they need to do that. I mean, there's obvious needs at wide receiver. Pierre Garcon needs help. There's obvious needs at interior linebacker now that London Fletcher's retired. Riley's a free agent. They have needs at the rush ends. Of course, Orakpo, that's an interesting subplot because Orakpo probably thinks he's worth a lot more money. Not a lot more, but more than the Redskins probably, want to pay. But they may have to just because they have so many other needs. Obvious needs in the secondary. Um, Safety. They once for the third year in a row, they're basically looking for a new safety core for starting. They definitely need help at cornerback. They need help on the offensive line in the worst way. So they have a lot of needs personnel wise, and there's no way they're going to leverage. I think they have 6 draft picks to fill them all. And what should their strategy be in the draft? I don't know. Get as many picks as they can. But certainly for those second and third rounders, you got to get guys that'll start. They need help. They need a lot of bodies. So they need to leverage both. And I don't have any problem with them spending as much money as they can, but do it wisely. The one thing I'll say for Bruce Allen since he's gotten here, they're not bringing in the plus 30 guys, and spending, $30 million. They're bringing in younger guys. Yes, they've had some I guess you would call them marquee guys in the form of Pierre Garcon, but there a lot of value associated with that. I think they missed on other guys like Morgan, but I like the approach that they're using. It's significantly different than the old days. So finally, the last question I'm going to cover tonight is, can this team turn it around in a single offseason? The short answer is yes. I believe they can. And I don't think it's them in particular. I think any team. I think when we see what happens from year to year, here, this Redskins team just 2 years ago in 2012 won the division and went into the playoffs. And I think the consensus was by most pundits that they were going to build on that this year. Well, complete turnaround, and the bottom fell out and they collapsed and finished at 3-13. So same group of guys for the most part, but look at the difference in the performance. So I'm not saying the same group of guys is going to be able to turn it around and win the division again, but I am saying that they can add key pieces using free agency and using the draft, and then we'll see how the chemistry of the coaching staff with the players and how that comes together. But yes, I'm not saying they're going out. I'm not predicting 10-6 and a playoff berth, but I am saying that they can play much better and they can certainly field a team. No, we should have we shouldn't have the expectations that they're automatically it's going to be a 6-10 year. We should see what happens, and I think we'll start getting the indications, in September when they start playing games. So, that I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. Today being February 9th, ahead of free agency and ahead of the draft and all the other stuff. I think the good news is I like first impressions on Gruden. I like a lot of people wondered about Haslett sticking around. I confess I wonder as well. We'll see what happens. I don't think you can merely say, Shanahan never, gave him the full authority to run things the way he needed to. I mean, history will show that Haslett's put out, mediocre defenses. I mean, they've never been, top tier defenses, consistently for Haslett. So that's interesting, but I like some of the other coaching things they've done. I think they got, I know they have plenty of money in free agency, and if they leverage it correctly, we'll see. Bruce Allen's not known as a big personnel guy, but he's claiming that Morocco Brown and Campbell and those guys know their stuff, and if unleashed, they'll be able to really bring in some talent. So they've got plenty of free agency money. They've got a coaching staff. They get some extra work in the offseason, and let's see what happens. I'm not... I haven't written this team off, that's for sure. I'm not saying they're going to win the next Lombardi, but they certainly can. In this division, there's no reason why they can't field a competitive team next year. So anyway, that's all I got for tonight. If you want me to answer your questions, please send me a note at feedback@skinscast.com. I'm sure I'll grab Refkin and Schifferall, and we'll do a show ahead of free agency. But I like to sit down and do these short segments once in a while. especially using video. We hope to leverage that more this year. And let's talk. Let's talk, man. Send me a note. feedback@skinscast.com. My name is John Pappas. You are whatever your parents named you. We'll see you again on Skinscast.